Today's show is all about reverb. But it's a little annoying to have reverb. Well, maybe not. Kind of sounded cool. Let's get it back in there. Reverb. Hi, everybody. I am Abe Duque. I am here with you once again. Once again, we are here, back. And we're in a new studio today. This week, I've spent this whole week trying to put this place together. It's still not done yet. It's still kind of in progress, under construction, but it, I think, should be good enough for today's stream, which I think hopefully there's not too many gremlins running around. Andrew Duque said I should avoid giving them water, and I think I will. But yeah, my name's Abe Duque. I'm an instructor at 343 Labs. This is 343 TV you're watching right now. We stream every day at 1 p.m. and we cover all sorts of topics related to music production, writing music, mastering, mixing music, composing, anything you could get your, DAWs, Ableton, Logic, Bitwig. We pretty much try to cover it all. We have a number of shows across the whole week. And we're here. You could find us at 1 p.m. usually. And if you miss it, we're always on the YouTube archive there, where you could watch any one of these shows going back as far as, I don't know, a few months now. Let's see what we got going on in the chat. John Selway, Toxic Topics. Interesting. I don't know what John Selway means by that. Let's see what we have. Mick, we see Mick Pattison. Hey, guys. Let's see, Mr. John H. Kingston III never misses a live stream. And, of course, Andrew Duque is always here. If you have just arrived, this is our production basics show. And today we are covering a little thing called reverb. I really wanted to do that. I just got a pedal here. I got these TC Electronics pedals, and I got this one called the Hall of Fame, which I really like. I use it a lot in my live shows, and I figured I'd just put it in an insert here on the microphone, and I'll probably leave this on here from now on, so that I could just kind of add reverb to any part of the show that needs a little bit of accentuating, if you will. All right, I'm just having fun. Oh, Max Wild is here, everybody. Sorry. I just saw Max is here. Hey, Max, the link is there from the same one from last week. If you're into fulfilling your promise, Max promised us that he'd play the saxophone this week. You can come on and go ahead and play, and maybe we could add some reverb to it. Other than that, maybe you could just come in and hang out if you want. It's your choice. And there are a few of you that have the link out there for coming in and dropping in. I'll be dropping that into to you guys more as we advance. Maybe some more of these of you characters that are showing up all the time to these streams can maybe come on and maybe be part of the show in real time. Anyway, let's see what else is going on in the chat. TAETRO, oh my God, the reverb effect. Reverb! It's today's show, reverb. Yeah, so let's get into today's show. Like, what the heck is reverb? I promised you some secrets about reverb, but let's talk about reverb and let's clarify what reverb is, just to get going. Let's see. Reverb is, it's a device created to approximate or model something that happens in nature, which is reflections in a given space. So any space you've ever been in causes the sound comes out of your voice, of your mouth, in a spherical fashion in 360 degrees all around, and then it hits any surfaces. So if it's a wall, or if it's a floor, or if it's a ceiling, or if it's another person, or a car, or whatever, an elephant, it'll bounce and then it'll come back to you, and or just fill up the space. And if there's a lot of walls or a lot of surfaces, it'll keep on bouncing, and it'll create a kind of like a soup or some sort of a diffusion network, as Ableton likes to call it. That is that sound that we hear after the fact, after we have our voice or any source give out the sound, is what we refer to as reverberation. Now, we can achieve reverberation by a few different methods. I think the simplest way to achieve reverberation is to actually go into a space that has that reverb signature that you like. So if you're got your buddies together for your Gregorian chant club that you've been practicing for weeks with, and then go out and find a cathedral to go sing in. You can go in there, walk in there, and sing in that cathedral and sound like you're supposed to sound, right? This big, gigantic kind of church hall-y sort of room. Let me just look at the chat for a second. I'm so curious as to what's going on there. Yeah, John Kinston III adds 2 saxophones to his chat there. I guess he's referring to Max's promises. Let's see what else. Dub sax, yes. Robert Dharma, welcome. I haven't said hello to Robert Dharma. Let's see. Andrew Duque says that reverb needs more cowbell. I do have a cowbell somewhere around here. I can go grab that and play cowbell with reverb on it if you like. If you ask me to, I will. So be careful what you ask. Anyway, so we were discussing reverb. So a particular space in itself is the best way that you can probably achieve the most natural sounding of all reverb. So you walk into a church, you walk into a hall, a gymnasium. Hey, why do you like to sing in the bathroom, right? Because the ceramic tiles, really create a lot of bouncing for those sound waves, and that whole kind of chamber that you create for your echoes are reflections, make you sound better than you usually sound when you're dry. Max is saying, how about next week? Okay, Max, you've heard it all. It's all here in black and white. You guys see it on the chat. Max is promising to play the saxophone for us next week. He says he feels like he needs practice. Don't we all? Anyway, so continuing with the little talk about reverb. So now, this is great. I remember reading one time David Bowie had this friend's apartment that he really liked to record in because he had this kind of long hallway, and he just really liked the way his voice sounded in there. So they went and mic'd up that place and actually recorded that, and that became the reverb sound that you might have heard in that recording. So that is definitely a way to get that done. But let's say you don't have the luxury of going from place to place. The next thing is to access a device. So what are the devices that you can get that will actually get reverb going? So let's go from most primitive to what we have today. And I think one of the most primitive things that you could use is something called a plate reverb. So a plate reverb is actually a big metal plate, humongous, sometimes as big as like a gong, like one of those humongous gongs. And then stand in front of it or play in front of it. Like this is great for snares and for vocals even, so that the actual resonant kind of vibration from the plate and the kind of bouncing of the frequencies from or the sound waves from the plate would get you this kind of metallic sort of reverb feeling. And it sounds great, it sounds fantastic, but hard to organize for normal people because unless you have a big studio that can afford a 600-pound gigantic plate, not really happening. So plate reverb is great. It sounds great, and is great usually for vocals and for snares and things like that. Is one of the best type of reverb selections you could have. And now a lot of modeled reverb these days will offer you a plate option. Just know where that comes from. And know that vocals and snares, number one on the list of things that you can use for a plate reverb. Let's have a look at the chat, see what's going on. La Novelle is here. Hello. Let's see what we have. Somebody's shilling serotonin records here. Let's see. What else we have? Robert Dharma says reverb is under the 7 train on sunny side. Yes. Yeah, you find those spaces. And you can, you can definitely take advantage of spaces if you can get a quiet enough session where you can go there with like your Zoom recorder or something like that, that you can just maybe record something in a space if no train is passing through, or if no other people are having a fight or shooting each other. These days in New York, you don't know what's going on. Anyway, here we are. Let me just pause a second to remind you what you're looking at here. You're looking at, well, I'm Abe Duque. I am an instructor at 343 Labs. We have schools here in New York City, and we have schools in Berlin. We have a school in Berlin, which is kicking ass right now. We offer in-person classes, and we also offer a plethora of online classes. If you're really interested, please have a look at our website, 343labs.com. If you want to go to the German website, 343labs.de, and have a look at our class schedules. I teach a lot of classes. All the people that you see actually, performing these streams, I guess performing, or I don't know, holding these streams on a daily here are actually instructors at 343 Labs. So if you like the way that things are explained to you, if you like the topics and the personalities, you can actually come and sit with us and actually have some, proper classes. So have a look. There's classes starting all the time, and I'm sure in the chat you'll see Thomas and maybe you, Max, will just add in a few details about classes, upcoming classes, and upcoming events that we might be holding, because we also have lots of things. Even beyond the streams, we have other things going on, like master classes and things of the sort. All right, and just going to ask you to subscribe if you have a chance. If you like what you see, please just hit the subscribe button, maybe the notification button as well. And as a personal favor to me, could you just hit the like button? Because I'm supposed to impress Max, and Max, who's my boss, is actually watching me right now. And if he sees there's a lot of likes on there, he'll probably let me continue to do this. Well, if you can. If not, hit me one of those with the dislike button. Anyway, what's going on in the chat? Tyra White says, hello, everyone. Hello, Tyra. Yes, I guess you guys are talking amongst each other again, which is always fun to see that's going on. It's hard to just jump in suddenly. See, oh no, dolltr is here. Okay, now I am nervous because now I know what it feels like. Because sometimes I come in on her stream and I'm like, hey, and now I know what it feels like. Okay, welcome, dolltr. Anyway, we were talking about reverb. Reverb. Sorry. Had to do that. We were talking about reverb. So just, it's kind of a audible aid or audio aid for you guys to understand what I mean by when I'm talking about what reverb is. So we got to the point of discussing that reverb is, it happens in nature, and you can actually find a place in nature to find the reverb that we want, but it's hard to always organize that. Hard to do that from your apartment, right? Then we talked about, other ways of doing it, getting a big old plate. But that's also hard to organize. So, well, let's see. What's another way to do it? Well, there's another technology that came around the same time as plate technology, which is spring technology. Spring. I don't know if you've ever tried to help a friend move a Fender amp or something, a guitar amp. You would know what I'm talking about, because you might just move it in the wrong way and go bing, 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 bing. There's like these springs in there. Because there's actual springs in these things, and what these springs are helping you do is actually create the reverb for the guitar. So the reverb effect in that amp is created by a spring. The spring is mic'd up with like electromagnetic pickups, just like the guitar is, and the signal is run through it, and we get a nice little type of reverb out of that. And those spring reverbs also very nice, mechanical as much as the plate reverb is, and very nice to play with. Now, for those of you that have small places and small apartments and maybe small setups, it's hard to always maybe access getting a plate or getting even just a setup with a spring reverb setup or effect unit is not as big as maybe having an actual plate in your house. But it's still still quite a lot to organize. And then you're just stuck with that one. So what do we have these days? Luckily, we live in a digital age where we can now take advantage of the beautiful computers that we have, which give us these things in the box. Let me look at the chat, see what's going on. And La Nouvelle say hello to John Selway. Mick Pattison says, what is the longest natural reverb? Well, that's an interesting question. That can last for a very long time. It just depends on how long the diffusion decay will keep on going. And I guess the harder surfaces, like if you stood in front of a cave, like a very long cave, and you screamed in there, Pinocchio. Sorry, I could have left that go, but you would probably hear that for a very long time until the energy kind of diffusion, kind of the bouncing in the waves of the sound waves on the surfaces would kind of dissipate and sort of end up not being audible anymore. So I don't know if there's an actual limit to the amount of the length of the decay on a natural reverb, but it can be quite lengthy depending on the spot. Okay. See what else we got here. Somebody just laughed. LOL. Okay. Let's see. Rico Val is here. Rico, I haven't seen you since Dubspot days. That was an old student of mine. Rico is the man, Italian man. Very, 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 very cool guy. Glad to see you here visiting with us today. It's and as I like to tell you guys, and I like to say this all the time, I really do feel like I'm visiting with everybody. So, and that's why I'm constantly like being distracted and looking at the chat to like make sure that I get everybody's kind of comments in, and just kind of even try to stay on top of what's going on in there, because there seems to be a lot going on inside this chat. Anyway, let's keep on moving here. So what were we talking about? Let's see. Oh yeah, reverb, right? So we discussed a natural reverb from actually just being in a venue that, or a space that has, that signature that you want. Then we talked about plate reverb. Then we talked about spring reverb. And now we're into the digital reverb. And I remember in the 80s when the first digital reverbs came out, they were really expensive. Lexicon had some reverbs that were like so expensive, almost unattainable, in the thousands, and almost $10,000 or something like that for the first digital reverbs. And these reverbs, we can call these the algorithmic reverb. And the algorithmic reverb is probably the reverb that we all know most. Now, I know there's another technology that has come and been a kind of an addition to our arsenal of effects, especially when it comes to reverb, which is convolution. But we'll talk about convolution a little later. I think I want to focus mostly on algorithmic reverb. Algorithmic reverb means just using a process of math to create, to emulate what might be happening in a natural space. Let's continue to look at the chat. Nanavel says, good question, Max. And reverb and delay. Max says what? How do reverb and echo interplay? So it's a okay. So the whole idea with echo and reverb, these are plays on words, because what is actual reverb? Well, reverberation. So it comes from the voice and kind of being able to hear the kind of reflections happening. Echo. What does the word echo mean? Well, the word echo means it's just a bouncing of a wave. So it's a reflection. So if you think about echolocation, which you might get what bats do, right? And sonar, and this happens when you send out a blip of sound wave, and then it bounces and it comes back, and then you're able to triangulate your position with that. And this is what an echo is. It's just a reflection. And so, the basic meanings, the definitions of these words, then start getting convoluted into, I used the word convolution, convoluted into something different. that people might refer to as reverb or delay or echo. And the truth is, the root to all of those things are kind of in the same place. The root to echo, reverb, and delay are all kind of coming from reflections. Now, the definitions, well, in delay, which is something we haven't even talked about, it's just really, an actual copy coming at you. So it's an exact copy. In echo, well, it's a copy, but it's grimy because most of the time it comes through a certain process, like maybe tape delay, which you might consider an echo, or it's been kind of disturbed by the reflections as it gets to you. It's been diffused before it gets to your ears. And in reverb, well, reverb is usually we're just talking about not a kind of manageable set of delays that you can use to create rhythms, which happen in delay and in echo, but it's basically just that one kind of big feeling of being in that space. But they all have kind of their root on the fact that it's a reflection, except for a delay that's really not a reflection. A digital delay is really just a copy. Anyway, let me just have a look at the chat. John Sowie says, you can think of reverb as a combination of a huge number of diffused echoes. Yes, you can. Thank you, John. That really kind of brings it home. By the way, John, Max, you guys are welcome in at any time if you guys are up for it. So yes, a combination of diffused echoes. That's a great way of putting it. Maxwell says, don't give away the answer. What is it? Test. That's funny. Anyway, once again, let me just remind you guys you're watching 343 TV. My name is Abe Duque. I am an instructor at 343 TV these days, and I love visiting with you guys and talking what I consider to be shop for me. Okay, and so let's get to maybe some examples here. Let's just go to a DAW and let's just try to break down the differences. Let's get me to set up my DAW here. So let's see, that should be the DAW, and let's. So I have two spaces there for anybody that wants to come in. I have here no sound, and my mouse stopped working, which is interesting. Sometimes it does this. Maybe I need another type of surface here. I lost it for sure all the way. Look at that. My mouse is gone. Oh, there it is. It's back. All right. So let's right now I have Ableton's Echo device on there, but let's grab a couple of these things to talk about them. Let's take Ableton's Reverb and then let's take the Echo too. Why not? And let's take the delay, just to kind of see what's happening here. And let me get some sort of something to play with here, some loop of some sort. Let's see, maybe one of these. That'll be good. All right, look at that. That's a lot of stuff going on. Hold on, I'm losing my mouse. Here we go. Let's turn these guys off. So just quickly, today's lesson or stream should be more about reverb than anything else, but just quickly, just to define what delay is. Delay is repeating, and you can get that in stereo. It's a little loud there, so let's get that down. So it uses, just kind of copies and gets it kind of repeating, and you can get rhythms going with that. But the thing is, you can make a delay sound like a reverb pretty easily. Let's link these guys together. Let's see. Let's just do it time based, and let's make a short. And let's increase the feedback. Now, if this was a vocal, this sounds a little bit more phased out than anything else, but let me see if I can't record myself into the Ableton here. Whoa, losing mouse. Let's get this preferences. And maybe I get the Scarlett to do that. And now I can just record in here. Testing 1, 2. Okay. So let's record my voice in here and say some things that I don't want to say. Well, not, but here we go. Let's record my voice in here and say some things that I don't want to say. So if I decrease, let's record my voice in here and say some things that I don't want to say. So if I keep a very short voice in here and say some things that I don't want to say. Let's record my voice in here and say some things that I don't want to say. So long feedback. Let's record my voice in here and say some things. So that's, of course, delay, but short enough. You get kind of a soup going. Shorter. And so, you know, you could, it's not, whoa. That was crazy. So it's not necessarily a reverb, but you could see where the kind of similarity to reverb happens. And in reverb, you get that going as well. You do get a reflection, but what you get with the differences between delay and reverb is that you get this kind of like the way that at least algorithmic reverb works is that you get these little small grains of sound kind of just populating everywhere and kind of oscillating and being right into each other, sort of just like repeating inside each other. And then they get kind of grouped together in a number of like how many with the density and the scale, meaning the size of the grains. And so it's not exactly the same what's going on between reverb and delay, but it's the root of it all. It all begins in the same place. And then after a while, they take a fork in the road. One stays about being a soup or a diffusion network, or what you might call a late reflection. And the other one is about creating rhythmic delays. Now, echo, on the other hand, is an interesting device because, you know, you can call, you know, there's no scientific reason to call this an echo. This one here can model a space echo or a tape delay. But as you see in this space echo, there's also an amount of reverb that you could add into the echo. So it's like delays with reverb combined and in a grimy sort of way. By the way, this is my favorite of the three that are standing here. So if you guys have a chance, if you guys use Ableton, or if you have another access to another echo, like maybe some sort of Roland space echo or something like that, this would be a great thing to consider versus delay or reverb in themselves. So let's turn that off and let's have a look at the chat, see what's going on in here. Let's see. I don't know, where do I start? Wow, there's a lot. That's a flanger. Yes, that's a flanger. Yes, it sounded like a flanger. A flanger does make a copy and the phasing that happens in the flanger is what you might have heard. A flanger also does kind of use a little bit more resonance in order to get what's going, and a little bit of modulation in order to like move that sound back and forth to get a more true to form flanger situation. But a lot of these things, including flangers and choruses, use the same root, which is a copy of the original sound, and then using that to do something with the as an effect. So in the case of a flanger or even a chorus, you have a copy of the original sound, and in the flanger they moved off, out of phase and back into phase, and a little bit of resonance applied to that, and then you get some very interesting effects with that. In the case of a chorus, the same thing, but in a slightly different kind of context to get this kind of thickening effect. And in a reverb and a delay and an echo, it's all about copies of the sound used in different ways to achieve different effects. Okay, what else do we have here? A toilet bowl. Yes, a toilet bowl. Space Madness. Somebody said, Robert Dharma says, woo. I don't know. Max is happy about something. Then comes the drop. Dolltr says, nice, with a lot of ease. And I'd love to look at the science of it. All right, so let's get into this. And it's the halfway point. I have to do this. 343 TV. We hear every day, except for Sundays. Not every Sunday, but some Sundays we do. But some Sundays we don't. But every other day of the week, we're here from 1 to 2, where we're just kind of talking to you guys. And then we put up the video on the YouTube channel so you guys can check it out later or over and over and over again. We talk about a lot of different things. We have shows stemming from theory on Thursdays, techno on Saturdays. Dolltr has her tips and tricks show on Mondays. What else do we have? Tuesdays, I think, is TAETRO, and Wednesdays is Justin with his hybrid studio show. And I think on Fridays, we have this show, which is our production basics show. Today, we're talking reverb. So let's get rid of the other guys. Let's get rid of these guys here. And let's talk about the reverb and the way that the most algorithmic reverbs are set up. Now, I did mention there was another type of reverb, and that would be the convolution reverb. And I want to just get that out of the way before I go into explaining the algorithmic reverb fully. The convolution reverb uses a really interesting technology, which is they take something called an impulse response, which is basically they steal the soul of a particular space by recording a impulse response. It could be as simple as a clap or a chirp of some sort, or a sine wave sweep or something, which then they will use to kind of convolve, and that's why it's called convolution. They convolve it with the original, with the sound that you're trying to add an effect to, and that will get you the sound in that space somehow. It's brilliant. It's a brilliant way of doing it. The problem with convolution is that it is as good as the impulse responses. So if you don't have access to a number of amazing impulse responses, you're going to just be stuck with the same ones, and it could be ho-hum after a while. So Ableton has a great convolution reverb, but their convolution impulse responses are great-ish up to a certain point, and then you're like, And then also, once you have one, the thing is, once you pick the convolution impulse response that you want, then you're stuck with it, and you can't tweak it too much. You can tweak it a little bit, but you can't tweak it too much. Algorithmic reverb, on the other hand, is very malleable. It's a very cosmetic, awesome tool. It can be, sound like the device that you're using, and that's why I recommend that you get to know what algorithmic reverb is all about, but also find you some different algorithmic reverbs, like, get the one from FabFilter and get the one from Valhalla. Valhalla has a whole slew of reverbs, and there's plenty of really cool algorithmic reverbs out there that you should be checking out. We're going to look at Ableton's one because it's pretty much set up like most would be. But let me have a look at the chat, see if anything's going on. John Selway's show is tomorrow. Don't miss the Techno Saturday show with John Selway. Tomorrow, John Selway will be talking about how not to make minimal techno. That is a very interesting topic. I wish I can tune in, but I will, because I'm teaching at that time. I can't tune in, but I will watch the show after to see how John explains to us how not to make minimal techno. And it has nothing to do with procrastination. Anyway, so Mixing Monthly this Sunday. Yes, Mixing Monthly this Sunday. We have a once-a-month show with Ariel, who's an amazing mixing engineer, and he's going to be talking about, I don't know what the topic is this week, this month. Maybe Thomas could fill that in the chat. Let's see. Let's go. Somebody, yeah, DNA Dimpu knows all. Said, let's start, sir. I'm eager for it, so let's go for it. I hope you're talking to me. If not, I'll pretend you did. Talk to me about that. So here we are. Here's the Ableton algorithmic reverb. So every algorithmic reverb can be broken down into two parts. It's always two parts. There's always the first part and the second part. Or as most other algorithmic reverbs are known to have, is a early and a late, or early reflections, late reflections. So what does that mean? Well, there's actually two parts of the algorithm going on. One goes on first and one goes after. One first, one after. The one that starts melds into the second one. It crossfades into the second one. So the first one is the early reflections, and here you could see early reflections. So you could kind of draw a line here and what's going on here, and early reflections would be what's happening over here, what's happening on the side over here. Late would be what's happening over here. Now, Ableton does not call it late reflections. You won't find the word late over here. They call it a diffusion network. Okay, fine. It's the same thing. You could take out this diffusion network here and write late reflection on it. Because if you look at any other algorithmic reverb and have a look, go find some other things you might have, and kind of break down what's going on in there, you'll see that there's an early reflection and then there's a late reflection part. Oh, and most of them say early and late, early and late, early and late, early and late. Some of them just say early and late. They don't say early reflections and late reflections. They just say early and late. Ableton wants to be special, and they say diffusion network. Okay, fine. We know what it is now. But what does it mean? What's happening with the early? Well, the early reflections are, well, if I stood in front of the cave, and I'm going to do it again, and I stood there and I said, Pinocchio! Sorry, I had to do that. The first reflection, the first part of the reflection that you get coming to your ear, the first thing, that first part is the early reflection. So the first reflection you hear, just the first, and it usually kind of, it's the most delay sounding thing in the whole reverb. It sounds like delay. It's coming to you, and that, if you slow down let's do it with the sounds that are in here. I keep on losing my mouse. Right now I'm moving my mouse and I can't get it to go. So I might have to do something about that. Maybe switch out on the mouse, but let's see. Let's get to go with this beat. And here we take this off here. So this beat has an effect on it. Let's do it with my voice. My voice should be here somewhere. Here it is. So turning on this reverb, a little bit of dry wet kind of blending here. Just I want you to focus. I'm going to turn down the decay. And I want you to focus on the pre-delay. Now, the first time that I ever heard of this parameter, pre-delay, I was a little bit confused. I was like, pre-delay. Pre-delay. What is it? Know the future or something like that? Like, I couldn't really understand what this was all about. So I was like, okay. But then I read up on it and I realized, okay, it's the first reflection. So how long does it take the first reflection to get to your ears? That's all it is. So let's see if we can make a long pre-delay.
Let's record my voice in here and say some things that I don't want to say.
A little louder there.
Let's record my voice in here and say some things that I don't want to say.
So you can hear a delay that's happening, but it's taking a very long time, 250 milliseconds. In reverb world, that's a long time. But you could hear that there's a delay there, and that's the pre-delay. Now, if you want it to sound like something was coming from very far, like if you had a gunshot, and it was like on a field, and you want to hear that kind of, reflection coming from all the way downfield and back, you might have a long pre-delay set up. Short pre-delay is more like what you're used to when you're using. This is a very, not unusual, but special situation to have a very long pre-delay in the reverb. Most of the time, you're going to have a pre-delay that's a little shorter. So this is basically the most important parameter here in the and the early reflection part of it. Now, Ableton adds something like shape here, and this, okay, so this shape in Ableton is like how long does it take, or what's the curve where it would blend between the pre-delay and not the pre-delay, well, the pre-delay is part of the early reflection and the late reflection, so that is that, it's kind of the shape of the curve, that blend. And then adds this spin thingy. Interesting. I guess most important after the pre-delay time is the input filter. There's a filter on the sound on the way in, so it's going to kind of process the sound on the way in and then add the effect only to the part that you decide to add it to, the part of the frequency. This is the frequency spectrum here, and this is kind of a bandpass filter that I've created now by having a high cut and a low cut filter together. And yeah, so let me have a look at the chat, see what's going on. Let's see, there's a lot going on here. Disney didn't have Ableton in 1940. No, Disney did not have Ableton in 1940. Disney had other means. Oh, Pinocchio, I get it. Pinocchio! Yeah, I'm just going to do the rest of the class like this. Or the stream. Keep on calling these stream classes. Maybe because we are 343 Labs. And we hold classes. And we teach you how to do this stuff. So if you're interested, come and take a class with us. Online, or in New York, or in Berlin. Okay. All right, so let's continue to explain what's going on here. Once again, subscribe. If you haven't subscribed yet, hit the bell notification. Give me a like if you like what you're seeing. I get really happy when I see likes popping up. I'm like, yeah, all right. I feel amped and motivated to continue here because this is not an easy thing to do. All right, so Serotonin Records says they had sound stages. Yes, so sound stages meaning they had natural spaces they created for themselves in order to create these effects on the sound. Okay, Pinocchio. Apropos, yes. All right, let's keep going. So first part of the reverb is the early reflections. Second part of the reverb is Ableton calls it diffusion network, but this you will often see it referred to as the late reflections. And this is just the soup that you hear, where I like to call it a soup, but it's the diffusion network is a fancy kind of word for this. It's kind of like that kind of tail that you hear that makes up that reverb tail. And so, in parameter talks, the most important parameters would be the decay time. So how long the tail is on this.
Let's record my voice in here.
See how long the tail is. Shorten it.
Let's record my voice in here and say some things.
Lengthen it.
Let's record my voice.
And then maybe the filtering of it so that you can really kind of, because you get a second filter on the way out, so you can actually filter the actual diffusion network or late reflections can be filtered to get kind of the texture that you like. And if you want a little bit of thickening to all that, add a little bit of chorusing. And if you wanted to make it more stereo or less stereo, so a mono reverb versus a very spread out reverb. And then this size knob, I like to, yes, this is what they call size, but I like to call it maybe more of what the tone of the reverb. I like to think of it as something more useful for me. So it changes kind of the tone of what the reverb sounds like. And I get it when they say size, but you got to take these kind of suggestions for like these subjective sort of names on things with a grain of salt. Because if it was really size, it would have a measurement here, and it just has a number from 1 to 500.
Record my voice in here and say some things that I don't want.
Okay, but those are the kind of relevant parameters in here. All right, so now let's get this going. I'm gonna work really fast because I want to beat the clock here with what's happening. Let me go into the I'm gonna create a kick drum and a snare, and I'm gonna create them from scratch, so they're gonna be very dry. I'm gonna just use operator real quick and get me I don't know, one of these notes should do it, and do like a 4 on the floor, and that's a kick drum-ish thing. And if I didn't lose my mouse, I'll be okay. So you get that a little bit lower. So where's my mouse again? Gotta do something about the mouse for next week. Everything else in my new studio is going well, except that my mouse keeps on having problems. So I'm gonna try to bring this down 1 octave. Well, that's too low. Let's get it somewhere like there, and let's add some pitch envelope to it. And that's good. That's okay. We can live with that. And maybe some decay to shorten it. And quickly I'll add some glue compression maybe, just to kind of make it tighter together. Sounds good, I think. And maybe I'll play with the pitch envelope just a little bit. Okay, I'm not going to get lost in that. The more important one is the snare that I'm going to build now. So I'm going to create another MIDI track here. Did I create a MIDI track or audio track? Let me just grab a analog. Throw that in there. And again, I lost my mouse. This mouse is driving me crazy today. So let's see. What note would that be? Let's try C2. Maybe that'll give us what we need. So let's go there, and let's drop that there, and let's get a snare going. Take that to a sine wave and shorten that sine wave, and then add a bit of noise from a second one here, and we'll bring that down through its own pathway here, and give it its own amp envelope. So it's a little long for the sine wave. Okay, now we have a sort of snare going, but as you hear, it's of course very dry right now. And so I'm gonna do the same that I did with the operator, and add a little glue compression just to kind of solidify it a little bit. But let's add reverb now. And here is what I meant by the title of the show. So a lot of people think of reverb as that, what you're hearing right now. So this big, gigantic thing that that is super obvious, and that, you know, everybody feels like, yay, you know, reverb, wow, reverb is meant to be done this way. And I lost my mouse again. Okay, so here we go, reverb. But let me show you how I like to use reverb, especially on something just created, something dry, something that isn't ready to, you know, to go out there and be placed in the track, because it would sound a little weird because it's a little too dry. So now, of course, this is very wet, but let me do what I usually do, which is I usually bring it up to about 50%, even though I'm definitely not going to use about, you know, even half of that. But I want to exaggerate things so that I could hear what's going on. That way I know what I'm actually doing. Then I also like to bring the decay time up a lot so that I could let it last, let that thing kind of hang in there so I could hear the texture fully. Now that'll let me kind of match it up to what I hear in my head, because this is the kind of a thing that I have in my head that I want to go for. I'm gonna probably turn off the whole filtering altogether for now. I might turn it on a little later, but now I'm gonna turn this size knob, which to me is maybe more the texture of the thing, and then go for what I think should be happening in that tail. And I think that is what I want, but now it's very long and very loud and it's not working at all. So I'm then going to back off big time on it, on both the decay and the amount that I'm using. And now I'm still at a lot for me. For me, this is still quite a lot, but I want to make sure you guys are hearing how obvious this is. Now, if you just walked into the stream right now and I said to you guys, hey, listen to this reverb on my snare, you'd be like, what reverb? And especially if I lower the decay time even a little more and this a little more. Let's do that. And I say, hey, listen to the reverb. And you would be like, what reverb? Well, let's turn it off. Let's take that kick off. Now that's a little subtle, so let's open up a little more of this. And we can start to maybe mold it with the filtering. Maybe give it more just to make sure you're molding in the right way. And there's so many ways you can go with this. Nothing is wrong or right, so don't hate me for what I may or not be doing here. All right? Really, so many choices here. Okay, and play with this again. Maybe I find something that I like, and then I back off completely. From dry to full. And this is the type of secret reverb that I was alluding to in the title of this stream, where there is a way to use reverb that most people are not aware of, and most people that are in the know, most engineers and people that have been doing this for a while, they know that somebody's calling. Who is calling? Well, somebody was trying to get in just now, but Max is calling. Let's get Max in here. Let's get Max to be with us in. Hold on, Max, you're coming. I'll get you in a second. Let's add him to guest number 1 slot. Max, you're there.
Hey.
Hey, welcome, Max.
Thank you. Hello, everyone.
Right. So we were just discussing reverb and how I thought that, a lot of people don't realize that probably the best use of reverb is the reverb you can't really hear and that isn't so obvious. And I like to use it on things like dry drum sounds or dry anything to give it kind of a sheen, I like to kind of equate it to like when you have holes in a wall and then you put putty on it, or when you like making new walls and you kind of put putty on it and sand it down and get this kind of like nice filler. The reverb can do that for you in your drier sounds. And for me, I think more than 50% of the use of reverb that I'm having in a mix is using reverb that I can't hear. And once again, just to kind of play it for you guys, Max, how you doing, man?
I'm great.
Are you here to talk about? Hold on, let me just play the example one more time. Make it a little louder. So that's with the reverb, without the reverb, with the reverb, and let's do a little less because that's definitely not. I'd probably use it that much, right there. And,
I like it. Sounds good.
And if I could get my mouse to work again, I could show you. Watch what happens. See, dry, full, and it really fills it in and it gives it a nice presence, nice body, and it doesn't have this like gigantic reverb feeling to it. Now you could take that reverb and add delay to it, Anyway, or add a delay to that snare sound. But Max, what brings you here today?
Well, Abe, Production Basics is my favorite show. Don't tell the others.
Right.
Hopefully John Selway isn't listening because his show
Selway's
really sucks.
right here, and he's watching right now. He might just come in and scream at you.
I was going to say one other thing. The great thing about being in Berlin is that we're 6 hours ahead of you guys, so we can actually start drinking a lot earlier than you guys. So
hey, we can drink whatever we want to, okay? Especially during lockdown. Lockdown changed everything. You can drink. I mean, I'm not drinking right now. Maybe I should be. Now you make me feel inadequate.
Well, reverb with wine is always a good combination.
Reverb with wine.
Yeah. No, just wanted to say, thank you to the community for being such a great part of 343 Labs and supporting us, especially during this time. We're having a great time streaming for you guys every day and bringing you new content. Please continue to check in on these streams. As Abe mentioned, we've got a special stream coming up this Sunday. Obviously John's stream tomorrow is going to be great. His stream's always
your second favorite?
Fantastic. My second favorite.
You know that dolltr is watching as well, right?
Oh, and then on Monday, I mean, how can I pick favorites? It's just like having all these kids, right?
You busted, my friend.
You love them all the same. But no, on Sunday we have Ariel Barujo, and he's going to be doing a special monthly show. And he actually is going to be dissecting a Pat Lock mix or a mix for a Pat Lock track that he was working on or is working on. So that'll be super dope. And next week, if you are game, I might be bringing.
Wow, I have to tell the story. There was one time we did a party. We used to do these parties called Fight Club. And we did a party, and I was DJing. I was playing some house, some tribal kind of house. And then Max showed up drunk with his saxophone suddenly. And he's like, "Can I play?" And I said, "Sure." And he went on. I mean, it was great. But one of our instructors at Dubswat, which is a crazy guy, Roz, remember him?
Oh, yeah.
He got all freaked out because he hates saxophone for some reason.
What?
You didn't know that? He kind of just stormed out like, "I'm out of here.
Really?
Screw that." Because he doesn't like saxophone. If anybody knows Roz, he's a little cuckoo. I'd like to get him in here and just talk to us one day. But he's a brilliant genius, but a little cuckoo. But
Let's invite him to the stream next week, and I'll play some sax for him.
Yeah, what are you going to play for us?
Well,
Careless Whispers?
That's going to be a surprise, Abe. Let me just tell you, if all your ratings go up next week because of all the hype from this thing, I'm going to take some of that over to my stream.
Okay. Well,
anyway, I don't want to interrupt.
Well, yeah, we're at the end of the show anyway. I'll get you to do the final credits, or not credits, but the final kind of shilling of 343.
Okay, cool. So thank you guys so much for watching. We're glad to be here. We're a music production school in New York, Berlin, and online. So as Abe mentioned, if you're into learning Ableton Live, Logic Pro, mixing and mastering. Actually, Abe has a mixing and mastering class that is super dope. And there's one starting really soon. I can't remember the dates, but if you just go to 343labs.com. In fact, Maya in the chat just signed up to your class, Abe. So you have her coming to check out your class. We have sound design and synthesis with John Selway. I believe we have a class coming up for that as well. We have music composition and arrangement with Brent Arnold. I just taught that class in Berlin. Another really cool class. We have a open house and masterclass on tomorrow in Berlin. So if you're watching from Berlin and happen to be in Berlin, come check that out at Riverside Studios at our new location. And I think that's it. Click the like button, the subscribe button, give Abe some likes, and hit the bell key so that you know when we're going live. And we're gonna be doing many more seasons of 343 TV. So thank you so much for watching and being a part of our community.
Yeah, that's right. Thank you all. I mean, I feel really touched that you guys are here every week. I see you all. I feel like this is my hangout. I don't get to go to the pub anymore. All I could do is come and hang out with you guys. So I'm gonna,
right
yeah,
here.
you know what? Good
Cheers to
idea.
that.
Next week I'm gonna have a 40 with.
Exactly.
All right. I guess that's it for today. We'll see you next Friday, and we'll see you here tomorrow with John Selway, who should have come on to talk about his show, but we'll see John Selway tomorrow at 1 o'clock for his Techno Saturday show.
More reverb.
More reverb.